Hi, I'm Henry Acosta, reporting to you for Health Professional Radio. Our guest today is Michael Johnson, the CEO of Rhinomed, and he's here today to talk with us about their product that helps people with breathing. The benefits of their product are improved sleep, nose health, and better overall well-being. These products are becoming really high in demand and will soon be available at major popular retailers, such as Walgreens in the United States. With all that said, welcome to the show, Michael. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, and well, to kick things off, I just wanted to ask, how did you get started with Rhinomed?
Sure. So Rhinomed is we're a Melbourne, Australia-based medical technology company. We're quite small. We've only been going for 4.5 years. So we started at the beginning of 2013. And we have developed a nasal technology platform. And the first version of that platform is a nasal stent, so a fully adjustable nasal stent. It just pops inside the nostrils and opens up the airway and allows you to increase the airflow by an average of 38%, according to the clinical trials we've carried out.
Wow, and I read so far with your website. Actually, you guys have two products called Turbine and Mute. Can you tell us about both of them?
Yeah, sure. So we know that the idea of putting something in your nose is initially may seem like a strange idea. So what we focused on was identifying those folks who would really benefit from improved nasal patency. And of course, that's the 1 in 4 people who suffer from some form of nasal obstruction. So as a result, we identified that there was 2 really obvious markets for that. One was in sport. So anybody who's doing any form of aerobic exercise, be it bike riding or yoga or Pilates or any sort of form of aerobic workout, and the other one being snoring and sleep. So we have developed a brand called Turbine, which is the sport product, which helps people to breathe better when they're doing exercise and when they're running around. And the second one is Mute, i.e. the mute button, which is used for snoring and sleep. And so they're the 2 products that we've brought to market so far. Pleasingly, the great thing is that with our sport product, we've managed to attract the attention of some pretty high-profile athletes. So, for all the guys and girls out there who ride a bike, one of our key ambassadors is a chap by the name of Chris Froome, who has more recently just won the Tour de France for the 4th time.
Wow!
It's a great bit of endorsement, and Chris has been using the technology since 2014, so pretty much a year after we developed it, he came across one of the first versions, and pleasingly, when we found out he was using it, we were, I suppose, smart enough and lucky enough to reach out to him, and he came back and said, "I've got some feedback for you," and actually his input helped us to actually refine and revise the first version, and the Turbine that you can buy now has had a bit of input from Chris Froome, which is pretty cool.
Well, congratulations on that endorsement. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, I think what we know is it's certainly improved nasal breathing and increasing the amount of air you can get through the nose will certainly help. Some folks, basically breathe better and be less stressed about breathing when they're doing exercise. There's no evidence to say it'll improve your performance, but it certainly won't do any harm. And of course, then the second product we've introduced, which we launched at the start of 2015, is a product called Mute, which helps people to, once again, opens up the nose, allows you to increase nasal patency, improve nasal airflow, and that actually has been shown to reduce snoring. And not when we talk about snoring, we talk about it not in a generic sense, but in sense of reducing the duration, reducing the frequency, reducing the volume, reducing the severity of it. And we really break it down in those aspects, and we've shown that in the trials we've done that we can actually reduce snoring and across the board. And as a result, we also know that if you're breathing better at night, your sleep's going to improve. And anybody who's ever suffered from a nasal cold is acutely aware that their sleep is no good when they can't breathe through the nose. So Mute's got a really valuable role as a non-drug alternative to any form of nasal obstruction.
Well, and it sounds like I might need some since I get colds a lot.
Yes, well, that's one of the things. We know that everybody has a snoring story. It doesn't matter, whether it's your parents, your partner, the person on the plane or the train. Everyone sort of has come across somebody who snores. And the second thing we know is even if you don't snore, if you have a problem breathing through your nose, using a mute, which is really comfortable and comes in 3 different sizes, allows you to open up the airway and allows you to breathe better. And I'd love to say it's all physiology. Some of it is. A vast majority of it is simple physics, because what we're leveraging here is actually a law of physics called Pascal's law, which basically means that Pascal's law states that if you open up the diameter or the entrance of a vessel by 1, you increase the volume that can travel through that vessel by the power of 4.
Wow.
And so therefore it's a significant improvement in airflow. And that's something that we see people really react to. It doesn't matter whether it's at the American Sleep Medicine exhibition that we attended and exhibited in June, or whether it's just some folks in a pharmacy. If you've got a blocked nose, if you've got one of those 1 in 4 people who suffer from some form of nasal obstruction or congestion, it's really quite dramatic. And one of the things we really love about what we're doing is we get a lot of that aha moment where people get really excited about the ability that they can actually breathe properly and unaided too. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, I can just imagine how people feel when the first time they start using it and they can actually breathe properly.
Yeah, and it's one of those things we take for granted, and we've had people who have not thought they had much of a problem until they've actually used the device and suddenly realised that it does have a significant improvement in their nasal airflow. And certainly that's, in different areas of medicine, mouth breathing in particular is seen as being a real negative. There's a lot of studies that link, mouth breathing through to a whole range of different, chronic diseases and conditions such as, gastrointestinal tract issues. Even some interesting research that's emerging that's sort of linking mouth breathing and its impact on sleep disrupted breathing. And so we sort of see that and believe that nasal breathing is a really critical part of, good health and well-being and certainly good maintenance of good health as well.
Yep. And since we're already talking about sleep, what about people with sleep apnea? Is this one of the options that they actually have for treating their sleep apnea?
So we actually, the 2 products on market at the moment are not designed for sleep apnea, and we certainly recommend that anyone who suspects they have sleep apnea should immediately, go and consult their doctor. So they're not designed for that, but certainly what we've heard back from some, the doctors, the sleep specialists that we deal with is that one of the biggest challenges they face with their patient group is poor compliance. And that's, people not wearing their CPAP mask or not using their oral mandibular advancement splint. And one of the reasons behind that poor compliance can be attributed back to nasal obstruction or congestion. So with the compliance with a CPAP mask, for instance, being as low as 43%, one of our hypotheses is that if you can help improve the nasal airflow, it may well be that you can also improve compliance. And that's something that we have yet to prove, and we haven't got any data that suggests it. But certainly the anecdotal evidence we're hearing back from the sleep specialists is that it might help. And if it helps, then we're really pleased. One of the things that we are focused on as a company is we're actually in the process of developing a specific sleep apnea device, and that takes the concept of this nasal platform a step further. And in this instance, what we're doing is we're putting a valving system into the device. So not only do we stent it, but we also valve it when people exhale. And we're in essence creating what's called EPAP, or expiratory positive air pressure, where we use the patient's own exhale breath to actually create back pressure that in effect stops the airway collapsing. And we've completed a phase 1 trial there at Monash Sleep and Lung in Melbourne, Australia, and we got some really exciting data off the back of that in terms of efficacy. But also what we also showed was that our compliance and adherence rates, even albeit a 5-day, in-home trial, for the compliance aspect of this trial, was that the compliance and adherence rate was 78%. So it's significantly greater. And we believe that there's a real opportunity to provide a low-cost, low-invasive alternative, and that's something that we as a company are very committed to developing that sort of innovation that we believe will not only improve patient outcomes, but hopefully improve and open up more and more people to be actually open to being diagnosed with sleep apnea, which is a bit of a challenge at the moment.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next step in the evolution of Rhinomed and your technology. But yeah, for our listeners and for me as well, I just wanted to know how does it look like, and is it comfortable or uncomfortable the first time you put it on?
Sure. So it's very, very discreet. So it's literally a two little loops that go into the nostrils, and those two loops have ratchet mechanisms in them, so you can actually adjust it for either nostril. We know that nobody's face is symmetrical, and neither are nostrils, so if you have any form of septum deviation, you can actually tune the device to get the most comfortable fit, and that's what's truly unique about it. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's adjustable on either side, and it also comes in 3 different sizes. So through that combination, and also the materials we've selected to actually use the product that we manufacture the product with, I should say, we've actually got probably one of the most comfortable devices on the market that fits discreetly in the nose. So for some people, you cannot even tell that they're wearing it. And it's something that from the user trials we've done, people get used to within 5 minutes. So it's something that is low discreet, non-discreet, and very easy to wear and quite comfortable.
Yeah, and for regular people who just wants to breathe better in general, would you ever recommend people wearing it 24/7, or are there certain intervals or certain specific times that they should be wearing it?
Look, that's a good question. We've certainly designed the Turbine, the sport product, so that you can wear it when you're vertical, when you're doing percussive activity, so it won't fall out of the nose. The Mute has been designed, of course, when you're asleep, so it's designed when you're horizontal. So there's different pressure points in the nose that the technology leverages to stay in place. Generally, I wear it every night and have done so for the last 3 or 4 years, and certainly find that in different situations, you find a greater deal of benefit. I mean, if you've got any form of nasal congestion, it works wonderfully well. I wear it on flights where, if I'm traveling and I'm paranoid about snoring in public, then it's a great thing to wear because it'll deal with that. But it's up to the individual to really understand when it's most relevant. And then certainly, if in doubt, we certainly recommend that people talk with their medical practitioner and understand, how this can be used, not just as standalone therapy, but also as maybe as a companion or adjunct therapy to something else that they're already using.
I see, yeah. I think that maybe we can look forward to seeing another product from you guys that you can just wear 24/7, huh?
Absolutely. And one of the things we're currently working on is we're looking at, in fact, Chris Froome was helping us with this earlier this year, is actually adding a menthol eucalypt version to the device. So you basically have a formulation that will actually help clear the passages and stop the nose running at the same time. And that's something that we're currently working on, and we hope to have that out in the market maybe into early mid next year, which is pretty exciting, because we certainly know as a platform you can do multiple things with it, be it at a decongestant, a menthol eucalypt, add a lavender chamomile to help people relax and get to sleep. Mm-hmm. There's a whole range of different things we can do at a very simple over-the-counter level. And then the more complex things, which are certainly down the track, is actually nasal drug delivery.
Yeah, and that will be probably for another interview, so you can come back to the show anytime for that, Michael.
Yep, absolutely.
And are there any certain misconceptions that you want to address with regards to your product?
Yeah, I think, look, one of the clear things that we are very keen on is being very clear about where this product helps, the fact that it's not a panacea and that it's not designed to be one, and it's designed to be part of the armory that pharmacists and doctors can use if they've got a patient with one of those 1 in 4 who suffer from some form of nasal obstruction. But also being very clear that we as a technology developer are very keen to actually understand other alternative uses for the technology. Certainly its use as a companion or adjunct therapy was not something that we had in mind, but by working closely with the medical fraternity, we've discovered that we can adjust and we can actually innovate to better mould and better create a solution that is more relevant to patients and clinicians.
Yeah, and What would be your main takeaway message for all our listeners right now?
Certainly. So we know that 1 in 4 people suffer from some form of nasal obstruction. So simply improving the way they breathe through the nose will have a potentially dramatic impact on the way they wake up in the morning. And we know that if you wake up in the morning feeling pretty good, you're more likely to do some exercise, you're more likely to not go straight to the donuts and eat the bad food. You're more likely to, hopefully follow a better lifestyle. And we big believers that there's a holistic solution that's probably going to ultimately produce the better patient outcomes.
Yeah, and you guys sound like you guys are doing a great deal for everyone who's interested in using your product. And
that's certainly something we're keen to sort of, anyone's got any ideas or would like to help, we're here to help, and that's what we're very keen to sort of try and support.
Yeah, and for those people who are interested in looking at your product and even buying some, what's the best way they can do that?
Sure. So with the Rhinomed.global website's the starting point, but we have the mutesnoring.com website, and we also have the Turbine.com website, which are how people can find out a bit more about the technology and different uses and get some feedback on how others are using it. And we also have quite an active, of course, social media following and profile, so people can keep in touch with us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and which retailers around the world are they available at?
Yeah, so pleasingly, in Australia, we're in most pharmacies now throughout Australia. In America, we just recently found out that we're being call ranged in about 4,300 Walgreens stores from about September onwards. We're available in GNC. In the UK, we're in Boots. So it's starting to, from a company that started 4 years ago, we're starting to build a very nice sort of retail footprint, and we'll continue to build that over hopefully the years to come.
Yeah, and congratulations on getting all those retailers. And we wish you more of luck and success.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, that's all our questions for today. And thank you so much for stopping by, Michael.
Thanks so much for having me.
That was Michael Johnson, the CEO of Rhinomed. We just finished talking about their 2 products called Mute and Turbine. If you're interested in checking them out, you can visit them at www.rhinomed.global. That's RHINOMED.global. Streaming of the station, transcripts, and archive are available at www.hpr.fm. You can also download our show on SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes. For updates, you can follow us on major social media platforms. I'm Henry Acosta for Health Professional Radio.